Hello, 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 my loves. As always, I hope that this live or this replay finds you well and in excellent spirits. Welcome to another edition of the Astro Room live here on YouTube. I am your host and your favorite astrologer, Mel of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. So, if this is our first time meeting, welcome. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. So this channel is everything astrology, spirituality, and manifestation. So if those are the things you like, if those are the things you love, or if those are the things you want to learn more about, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you'll always be notified when I come out with new content. All right, my love. So this is the weekly astro forecast for the week of October 28th through November 3rd, 2024. All right. So I don't know if you tuned into last week's show, but last week's show, I said, we had a very light week, not too much going on. Sorry, my nose is itching. This week, nothing like that. There's a lot going on this week, a lot of dynamic energy, a lot of intense energy, and we're gearing up for a particular transit that's really going to intensify things. All right. So, to summarize what this week is looking like and feeling like, we've got a new moon in sexy Scorpio. We've got two planets changing signs, and then we have a transit that may knock your socks off, all right? Hopefully in the best way possible. Not to mention, there's just a lot of cosmic activity this week. But before I get into all of the details, of course, housekeeping and announcements. So if you're joining me here on the live this evening, thank you so much for tuning in. I sincerely appreciate you, right? So if you are here, definitely say hello in the chat and hit that like button on your way in, please and thank you. And if you are catching this on the replay, I appreciate you just as much. Hopefully, you find what you are looking for in this broadcast, whether it's information, confirmation, illumination, whatever it is. Hopefully, I am here to deliver it. And if that is the case, then definitely hit that like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell if you have not already. All right. So, by way of announcements, first and foremost, this week, I'm holding one of my live workshops, right? It's my free live workshop on how to read your natal chart. It's called Your Cosmic Selfie. It's a great introduction to reading your natal chart if you have no idea, or maybe you need a refresher, or you just want to learn some interesting tidbits about not just your natal chart, but yourself. All right. So it will be linked in the description box below and tagged to this video. It's going down on Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Don't worry if you can't make it. As long as you register, you will get the recording. So you are good either way. And again, that is going down on Wednesday. Also on Wednesday, the month is closing, so that can only mean that there is a new month ahead, right? And so on Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern here, live in the Astro Room on YouTube, I will be doing the November 2024 monthly Astro forecast. So set a reminder so that you can tap in. And finally, and most importantly, beginning on Friday, I will be closing my books for all readings except for the 2025 year ahead reading. So from November 1st through the end of the year, I will be focusing exclusively on those. Now, these readings are chock full of everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. Everything you need to know for you personally for the upcoming year. We talk astrology, we talk numerology, important dates, eclipses, every major event that's happening in 2025, I will go over with you in full detail. It is the reading of all readings. And so that is the reading that I will be focusing on exclusively come November 1st. So that means between now and Friday, if you want to book a regular natal chart reading, if you want to book a tarot reading, I would suggest you do that because come Friday, all of those things will be shut down. And the other exciting part about that is that for the first month, so between November 1st and December 1st, I will be running a promotion on the 2025 year ahead reading. So every week, the reading will be discounted. And beginning on Friday, so from November 1st through November 7th, it will be 40% off, which is a complete steal. When I say complete steal, complete steal. Thereafter, it'll go down to 30%, 20%, and 10%. And then by December, it's going to be full price. So if you are interested, if you want to know what is the title of the reading, it's called The Next Chapter. All right. So it'll be going on sale 40% off beginning November 1st. It's called The Next Chapter. I will link it in the description box below, right? But I will definitely wait till Friday to book if you want to take advantage of that discount. All right. And again, it is the reading of all readings. So you can book now and then you can schedule it for January, right? At the top of the year. You can schedule it for whenever. But if you want to take advantage of the discount, you'll probably want to book beginning Friday, right? November 1st to November 7th, because that is when you will get the most discount, right? Is it on the site now? Yes, it is. It is called The Next Chapter. Okay. It has the 2025 in the graphic. So yeah, I'll definitely link all of that stuff below so that you are more than aware of what is going on. All right. And so there's a lot. Speaking of what's going on, like I said, there is a lot going on this week. And it may have you feeling a little unsettled, right? This one transit that we have that is actually going to be going on next Sunday, right? It's one of the major transits of 2024 into 2025. And you may be feeling it already, right? It's feeling like if you're feeling like you're being pushed a little bit, if you're feeling extra motivated, if you're really feeling like making a change, that's probably because of this transit. And the thing about this transit is we're experiencing it now, but because one of the planets is going to be going retrograde, we're going to be experiencing it about 3 times between now and like spring of 2025. I'm actually doing a dedicated video on this particular transit. However, I will discuss it this week because it is super important. But the other star of the show is that we have a new moon this week. We have new moon in sexy Scorpio, which allows us to really, and when I say really, I mean that intentionally, really manifest the things that we really want. So this is a powerful week in and of itself. All right. So without further ado, let's get into the week and see exactly what we've got going on. Okay. So, of course, we start with the highlights. And so, what we've got this week first is what I like to call conception. This is the new moon in Scorpio. So, Scorpio has a lot to do with sex, it has a lot to do with reproduction, regeneration. And so, this is birthing something, conceiving something, giving life to something, right? It's the essence of manifestation. And so, this is one of the new moons of the year, right? And remember, we have a new moon in every zodiac sign every year, right? The Scorpio new moon is perhaps my favorite new moon of the year because we really tap into our raw desires. And depending on where Scorpio is in your chart, you can really manifest something that is transformative, that's like a permanent change, and that is profound. And so it's always an interesting new moon. Next, we have what I like to call up, up, and away. And this is Mercury moving into Sagittarius. So currently, Mercury is in Scorpio. When Mercury is in Scorpio, things are a little dark, they're deep, they're intense. And then all of a sudden, when Mercury moves into Sagittarius, it's like getting in a hot air balloon, right? Scorpio is sort of the depths, the dungeon, the the mine, if you will, whereas Sagittarius is the stratosphere, it's outer space. And so our thoughts are going to be elevated and perhaps a little bit more optimistic, which is always a great thing. And then we have what I like to call say it with your chest. And this is Mars moving into Leo. And so this is going to give us a boost of confidence. For some people, maybe even a little cockiness, but this is going to give you the confidence and the willpower to really go after the things that you want. Things are going to get very spicy with Mars in Leo. All right. So those are the highlights. Let's take a look at the week and see exactly what it's looking like. I told you there was a lot going on. You probably can't even see all of that because it is a lot. So we've got Venus square Saturn, Mars trine Neptune, Mercury opposite Uranus, Mercury trine Neptune, new moon in Scorpio, Mercury in Sagittarius, Mercury trine Mars, Mercury sextile Pluto, Jupiter sextile Chiron, Mars in Leo, Venus opposite Jupiter, Venus trine Chiron, and Mars opposite Pluto. Like I said, a lot going on. Okay. But the one thing that I want to highlight is that if you notice, if you kind of were really paying attention, we've got quite a few oppositions this week. And in terms of astrological aspects, oppositions are a harsh aspect. Oppositions highlight extremes in our lives. Think of a seesaw. You've got one planet on one end and another one on the other, and their planetary energies are sort of vying for attention, right? So it's like you feel like you're being pulled in two directions, or you're just experiencing extremes. A lot of times, oppositions denote opportunities to make a decision or situations that require you to make a decision. It could really have you moving in one direction, right? And then trying to redirect yourself to sort of either move in a different direction or stabilize yourself in the middle. Either way, oppositions give us the opportunity to create balance in our lives, to have some sort of state of homeostasis in our lives, and understand the backdrop within which all of this is happening is that regardless of if we have a trine, an opposition, a square, whatever the planetary aspects are, the main energy is the energy of the season, and this season is Scorpio. So within the context of experiencing these oppositions, we are transforming. We're experiencing death and rebirth. We're experiencing change. We're experiencing endings and beginnings. And so these oppositions may have you either closing a door and opening a new one, shutting something down and creating something new. Like these are the extremes that you may be experiencing in your life. And it requires you to make a decision. And hopefully you're making that decision from a place of awareness, from a place of, consciousness, right? But you have to make a decision nonetheless. And so if you feel like you're being pulled in two different directions, the best thing to do is stand still. Stand still, be present, and figure out, okay, if I go through this door, what happens? Is this a repetition of a pattern that I've just been experiencing in my life over and over again? Maybe it's time to close that door. Maybe Scorpio season is finally getting me to stop this, end this, leave. And now it's time to open a new one. So if you find that you're experiencing extremes this week, not only is it the astrology, but it's the universe getting you to decide or getting you to move in a particular direction. Like stop being double-minded, stop being hesitant. It's more like, okay, we're going in this direction. We're leaving this behind. And here's the thing with Scorpio energy, the endings are permanent. That's why Scorpio rules death, like physical death, because once you die physically, unless you have a near death experience, but that's an exception to the rule. Once you die physically, that's it, right? The body ceases to exist. And so any endings specifically that happen within Scorpio season are permanent. And that can be a really great thing. That's why I love Scorpio season so much, because transformation is of a permanent nature. If you tuned into my live last week where I talked about the energy of Scorpio, and if you haven't, the link will be in the description box below so you could check it out after you finish this video, of course. Transformation can be sudden, but it's permanent. Once that door closes, it is deadbolted, locked, cemented shut. There's no going back. And that can be a great thing. So keep that in mind as you go through the week. And as you are experiencing whatever this planetary energy or however this planetary energy is playing out in your life. Okay. So yeah, this is what it is. This is what we're doing for this week. Let's take a look at the moon and see what the moon is doing this week. So we start off the week with the waning crescent moon in Libra. So it's waning, right? Because we're making our way to the new moon. And this is sort of that critical point where it's like, all right, we really have to make room for whatever it is that we're trying to manifest at that new moon. So now it's like really, you know what it is? This just came to me and I love this analogy. When your house is not necessarily the cleanest, but you have people coming over and it's like 20 minutes before they get there and you're kind of just like throwing shit out, stuffing shit in closets. Like it's sort of that fever pitch energy of getting rid of what you no longer need, right? Because again, we want to make room in our garden for these manifestations at the new moon, which is happening midweek in the sign of Scorpio, like I said, and as you can see on the screen. And then by the end of the week, the moon will be in the waxing crescent phase in Sagittarius. And I love this. The new moon is the darkest phase of the moon, right? And so think of it as like literally planting the seed in soil. You plant the seed in soil and it's dark. The seed is surrounded by darkness. Excuse me. That's the essence of Scorpio energy. And then as it starts to sprout, right, it's that energy of Sagittarius, which is hopeful, optimistic, and which is moving up. Perfect explanation, perfect it's sort of the natural, well, of course it's natural because we're talking about astrology, but the way that we are inclined to think about things is exactly how things were playing out this week with the planting of the seed at the new moon in Scorpio and the starting to sprout with the waxing crescent in Sagittarius. All right. So now let's get down to the details of the week, starting with today. So today's Monday. We've got Venus square Saturn and Mars trine Neptune. All right. So, in terms of, well, actually, let's see what this looks like on the chart. So, at the upper right hand corner, we've got Mars at 27 degrees of Cancer. Then, the bottom right hand portion of the chart, we've got Neptune at 27 degrees of Pisces. Very close to Neptune, actually, not too close, but close enough, is Saturn at 12 degrees of Pisces. And at the left hand side of the chart, you will see Venus at 12 degrees of Sagittarius. All right. So, Venus square Saturn. This is a transit that can feel a little harsh. I've heard some other astrologers talk about it, and they sort of mention it as like this feeling or this concept of bittersweet, right? And bittersweet, I don't know how you feel about it. Bittersweet to me seems very neutral. It doesn't seem extreme in any way. However, me personally, I love when Venus and Saturn link up in any sort of aspect because it gives stability to Venusian like things. Venusian like things are relationships and money for the most part. There's also fairness, aesthetics, all this other stuff. But most people associate Venus with beauty and, well, beauty with relationships and money. And when you pair it with Saturn, it gives longevity. The reason why this aspect is harsh is because Venus loves harmony, beauty, easygoing energy. And Saturn is all about obstacles and challenges and delays. Things that Venus doesn't necessarily like or is comfortable with, right? However, it's in those challenges, excuse me, it's in those challenges, it's in those delays that Venusian things can really develop. The immediate sort of example I got in my mind when I was preparing for this was the Empire State Building in New York, right? This is arguably something that took a long time because it's a huge building, correct? Delays, challenges, which I'm sure there were. However, when it is finished, not only is it a landmark, but it is marvelous. It's beautiful, right? Giving time to Venusian like things can very much serve you. Okay. And so Venus is currently in Sagittarius. So Venus in Sagittarius is hopeful, optimistic, big picture, right? I want to build the Empire State Building. Saturn is like, all right, cool. But here's the reality. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a lot of resources. It's going to take a lot of manpower. There are going to be delays. At the end, you'll have this beautiful dream that you envisioned. However, it's going to take time. So you're going to want to look at where Venus is in your chart in Sagittarius. So you want to look at where Sagittarius is in your chart. You want to look at where Pisces is in your chart. This is where you can change something in your life because Sagittarius and Pisces are mutable signs. So when we have a mutable sign, it's about fluidity, change, and adaptability. So if there's something you're looking to change in your life, something Venusian that you're looking to change in your life, understanding that it may take time, it may take resources, there may be delays and obstacles, will ultimately give you a more realistic perspective. However, it will also prepare you for the long haul, right? It gives stability to Venusian like things. And that's why I love this particular transit. All right. And then that same day, we've got Mars trine Neptune. And I like this. I like this in tandem with Venus square Saturn. Because Mars trine Neptune, with both planets being in water signs, it's feeling really motivated. It's feeling like you want to do something new. Okay. And this could be something that you dream of. This could be a big goal or something like that, but you're going to feel motivated. You're going to feel amped. You're going to feel hyped. All right. And understand with both of these planets in water signs, it's not about taking external action. It's really going to be about creating the environment within so that you magnetize it to you. But either way, you may find that there's a goal, there's a dream, there's something that you're probably fired up about, or maybe that you're realizing that you want to change at this moment. Again, remember, we have to always keep in mind the energy of the season, which is Scorpio. So we're all about change. So Mars trine Neptune can really have you changing something within your life and feeling really motivated about it. So if you're feeling that way, definitely try to ride the wave of those emotions and take action. But again, it doesn't necessarily have to be direct. It can definitely be internal so that you magnetize whatever you want to change to you. All right, so that's Monday. So now we move on to Tuesday. So on Tuesday, this is kind of a light day, one of the lighter days of the week, and we have the waning crescent moon in Libra. So again, when the moon is waning, we are divesting ourselves of what we no longer need. And when it comes to Libra, Libra has a lot to do with fairness, equality, and relationships. So, in conjunction with this waning moon in Libra, we also have the South Node still going through Libra. It's almost at the end of its journey through Libra. And since being in Libra, the South Node has been cleaning house with respect to our relationships. Anything that's not fair and equitable, even anything that's not aesthetically pleasing or beautiful, we're sort of urged to let go of it. And so this is the same thing right now. That's actually going to be emphasized as the moon moves through Libra between Tuesday and Thursday, right? Relationships, friendships, any sort of relationship that isn't equitable, that isn't fair, you're divesting yourself of it. And yes, that can be difficult. And it's not necessarily the case that you gotta call your friends up and say, "Hey, I'm not, I'm not being your friend anymore," or it's not even necessarily taking decisive action. It could just be in your mind being like, "Listen, I'm over this. I don't need this. This isn't serving me. This isn't fair. I'm giving too much. I'm not receiving enough." Like, it can be like that. It doesn't have to be this really harsh thing, right? So, with that being the case, it's a great time to really understand, especially with the new moon in Scorpio coming up. It's a great time to figure out who is around me? What kind of relationships am I involved in? And are they serving my highest good? Are they equitable? If not, then the waning moon in Libra, in conjunction with the South Node going through Libra, are going to help you sort of divest yourself of that. That's the best use of the energy. All right, so that's Tuesday. So now we make it to Wednesday. Again, one of the lighter days of the week. Trust me, the weekend is going to be on some shit because there's a lot going on. So the week is kind of giving us a little reprieve, a little time to prepare because the weekend is on and popping. But in any event, on Wednesday, we've got Mercury opposite Uranus. And whenever you have Uranus in the mix, expect the unexpected. So this could be unexpected news. This could be research that uncovers something unexpectedly, right? Uranus is in Taurus, Mercury is in Scorpio. When you've got Taurus and Scorpio, we're talking about things like resources, so money or any other type of resource. But Mercury in Scorpio is about uncovering the truth. And this is interesting, given the climate that we're in right now, with the election close, not too far away, right? In less like a week and change. Actually, yeah, a week from tomorrow. It'll be interesting to see what comes out. Something surprising, something crazy, as if we haven't experienced enough of that already. But I'm using that as an example to demonstrate what the energy is like. It could be uncovering the truth, uncovering a secret, uncovering something crazy, uncovering something that's transformative, right? Something that is surprising. So, regardless with this particular transit, expect the unexpected. Now, with Mercury and Scorpio, Uranus and Taurus, you want to look at where those signs are in your natal chart. This will let you know perhaps what you can expect to uncover or hear or see, right? In terms of surprises and the truth coming to light. So that's definitely something to pay attention to. That's Wednesday. Let's move on to Thursday. So Thursday, we've got Mercury trine Neptune, and we've got the waning crescent moon in Scorpio. All right, so let's see what this looks like on the chart. I forgot. I haven't really been showing you what the chart looks like. All right, so this is what's going on Thursday. We've got Mercury at 27 degrees of Scorpio at the top of the chart. And then at the bottom of the chart, we've got Neptune at 27 degrees of Pisces. And that same day, we have the moon moving into Scorpio. It won't necessarily be the new moon yet. It will still be in the waning crescent phase. And you'll see that at the top of the chart. All right. So when it comes to Mercury trine Neptune, this is very much kind of the same energy as Mars trine Neptune, which we are experiencing today. The Mercury trine Neptune sort of gets you in the mindset of big picture, your dreams, your goals, your aspirations, any of the lofty ideas that you have for your life. That's sort of where your mind is going to be. And again, to hammer this point into your head, we have to always keep in mind the energy of the season, Scorpio. And with Mercury being in Scorpio, this is about transformation. It's one thing to think about the things that we really want, right? Our big dreams, our big goals. However, when we're talking about that with respect to Scorpio energy, it's like, what do I need to change in order to achieve those goals? Scorpio is the phoenix, right? The phoenix rises from the ashes. What do I need to set fire to in my life? What do I need to destroy in my life in order to transform so that I can have this thing that I want? I love this energy because this is what we're feeling right before the new moon, which is happening on Friday. And so essentially that means, and with the moon also being in Scorpio on Thursday, it's like it's almost like, I know I use this example a lot, weight loss, right? And clearly, if you have a weight loss goal, even if you have a weight gain goal or some sort of body goal, right? You see the big picture. You're like, yes, this is what I want to do. You got to eat right. You have to work out. However, with the presence of Scorpio energy, and in this case, it's Mercury and the moon, you're like, all right, but what bad habits do I have that are preventing me from losing this weight? Maybe I snack too much. Maybe my eating schedule is not the best, right? Maybe I'm not eating balanced meals, or maybe I need to intermittent fast. Maybe it's the people around me. Maybe my environment facilitates eating poorly or not getting enough sleep, not being healthy. You understand what I mean? When we infuse that Scorpio energy into a transit like Mercury trine Neptune, it's like, what do I need to kill in my life so that I can change and have this dream? Because clearly, the version of you that is living the dream, right? The version of you that is the weight that you want to be, the look that you want to have, that version of you has different habits than the version of you that's not living that dream, right? And Scorpio helps you bridge the gap between sort of where you are and where you need to be. You just have to be sort of courageous enough to burn that bridge. You have to be courageous enough to dead whatever is not working for you. And this leads us up to Friday when we have the new moon in Scorpio. So it's almost like all week, the universe is giving us opportunities to prepare to plant these seeds. And everything about Scorpio is super intense, right? So we've got new moon in Scorpio. Let's see what it looks like on the chart. And you'll see at the left-hand side, both the sun and the moon are going to be at 9 degrees of Scorpio. All right. And this is significant because 9 is the energy of endings, but not necessarily completion. You haven't completed the cycle yet, but you're at the tail end of it, which is really sort of the essence of transformation, right? It's like this cycle has ended, or I'm deciding to cut this cycle where I'm at right now. And so all week you have the opportunity to be like, okay, what do I need to get rid of? What relationships aren't working? What is my big picture? And how am I perhaps sabotaging it? Or how is my environment, the people around me, not allowing me to change my life for the better? And then come Friday, we're going to plant those seeds in that fertile, dark soil. Everything about Scorpio is intense. It's ruled by Mars and it's ruled by Pluto. Mars is about action, action that's impulsive, action that's bold, action that's in alignment with your guttural desires. And then you have Pluto, which is like the wrecking ball, wrecking things in its path so that it can be reborn and so that it can regenerate. So this is why I said, and this is why this is one of my favorite new moons of the year, because this is where you plant seeds of real change. This is not a moon that you want to sit out unless you are a Sagittarius rising. If you're a Sagittarius rising, this new moon is, oh, there was like something that flew in front of my face. This new moon as a Sag rising is going down in your 12th house. So it's not going to be about taking action. It's really going to be about going within and sort of creating that environment. But I talk all about that in my new moon in Scorpio video. So you can definitely check that out. In either event, or anyway, this is the new moon you don't want to sit out, because this is when you can make lasting change. And again, you're going to want to look at you're going to want to look at your natal chart and see where this is going down, so you know exactly what seeds to plant, what needs to change, because over here we do things in accordance with nature. We follow the guidebook that nature has provided with us, aka astrology. All right, so that is Friday. So now let's take a look at Saturday, see what we got going on here. All right, now things are getting a little thick, right? Because we got a lot of stuff going on Saturday. So first and foremost, we've got Mercury moving into Sagittarius. Mercury is going to be the star of the show on Saturday because it's going to be moving into Sagittarius. It's going to be trining Mars, and it's going to be sextiling to Pluto. And then we also have an interesting transit, which is Jupiter sextile Chiron, which is a transit that we don't often have, but it's actually really important. All right, so let's take a look at what this looks like on the chart. So, Mercury at the very top of the chart is at 0 degrees of Sagittarius. Now, before it moves into Sagittarius is when it's going to hit all of these other planets. So, you'll see at the bottom right hand portion of the chart, you'll see Mars at 29 degrees of Cancer. You'll see Pluto at the upper left-hand portion of the chart at 29 degrees of Capricorn. Then at the bottom of the chart, you'll see Jupiter at 20 degrees of Gemini and Chiron at 20 degrees of Aries. Right? So, first and foremost, Mercury moving into Sagittarius. Actually, let me backtrack. Let's talk about Mercury at 29 degrees of Scorpio, because at that point, it is going to make an aspect to Mars and it's going to make an aspect to Pluto. This is very interesting because Mercury is going to be in Scorpio. At that 29th degree of Scorpio, it is going to have aspects to the two planets that rule Scorpio. If there's one thing about this week that I will say, it is the essence of Scorpio energy. Not to mention that Thursday is Halloween and Friday with the new moon is the Day of the Dead, right? All Saints Day, All Souls Day, whatever you like to call it. So that energy of transformation, that energy of death, right, is heavy this week. But death is only the beginning. It is essential. It's necessary. It is a component of the life cycle. It's a component of transformation. So this Mercury at 29 degrees of Scorpio, hitting Mars at 29 degrees of Cancer in a trine, and then sextiling Pluto at 29 degrees of Capricorn. This is like the universe is setting it up for you to change. And where does the change begin? It starts in the mind. In the mind and in the emotions, because Mercury is going to be in Scorpio still, and Scorpio is a water sign. You kind of have to get your mind and your emotions on the same page. It's not enough to say, oh, I want to change this, right? Let's say you want to buy a house, but your credit isn't the best. It's one thing to think, okay, I need to change my credit. It's another thing to feel it. It's another thing to embody it. It's another thing to understand why your credit is messed up in the first place. Remember, Mercury in Scorpio is about uncovering the truth. For you, you may be like, oh, yeah, my credit's not that good. But have you ever thought why? And I'm not saying why as in you have missed bills or a whole bunch of debt. Why did you accumulate that debt? Why didn't you pay your bills on time? The motivation, the ugly truth behind these things is not only what sets you free, it's what allows you to change. So we are getting our minds right. And then the universe is throwing in Mars to give us some right? To give us some motivation. And then Pluto to decimate whatever is not working for us. So I urge you, if there's nothing else that you get from this live today, get your mind right. Understand why you do what you do, why you want what you want, because this is the time to make change. All right. And then with all three planets at the 29th degree, this is known as the anaretic degree in astrology. It's like the fever pitch, it's the most intense degree of any sign. Whenever any planet is at 29 degrees of any sign, it embodies the most of that sign. So 29 degrees of Scorpio is hella scorpionic. Like this is literally deciding, okay, to use my example, your credit is bad because, your credit is not the best and you want to buy a house. This is like, all right, I'm like going to see someone to help me repair my credit. I'm calling these companies in order to work out some things that they take it off my credit report, right? Like it's really taking action, and it's really taking action from a place of I understand what I need to do to change this. I understand what I need to do because I understand why this was like this in the first place. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully it didn't go over your head. I really want you to understand this so that you can take full advantage of this energy. All right. And then after Mercury has this beautiful yet intense dance with Mars and Pluto, it's going to move into Sagittarius. And at this point, I love this because now that we understand why we do what we do, we're able to get our mind right to make change. Now, Mercury in Sagittarius is making you feel hopeful about it, is making you feel optimistic. Your thoughts are a lot better. Now, when Mercury is in Scorpio, our thoughts can be kind of dark, they can be intense, they could be heavy because we're really underneath the surface and we're really seeing things for the truth of the matter, as ugly or as unpalatable as that truth may be. It's heavy. Scorpio energy is heavy, like make no mistake about it. And then we go to this lighter, more optimistic, bigger picture energy as we move into Sagittarius. And the first planet that will move into Sagittarius is Mercury. And so your mind is going to be in a better place, seeing the bigger picture. Now that you've done all the dirty work in Scorpio, now you're seeing the bigger picture and you're optimistic about it. I love that. And then speaking of optimistic, then that same day we've got Jupiter sextile Chiron, which is a very interesting transit. Now, Jupiter is actually the ruler of Sagittarius. So Jupiter has a lot of expansive and optimistic energy inherent in it. And Chiron is known as the wounded healer. Chiron really gets us to tap into our insecurities, our fears, our hangups in order to overcome them so that we can sort of teach other people how to do the same thing. Either way, Chiron in our charts, Chiron, whether it's a transit chart or your natal chart, it's really about addressing your wounds. It's the opportunity for healing. Chiron actually looks like a key. And once you really tap into that Chiron energy within you, it kind of unlocks a lot of things in your life. And with Jupiter sextile Chiron, you have the opportunity to unlock abundance in your life. But you have to be able to heal through your insecurities, your fears, and your wounds. The minute that you do that, abundance sort of unlocks. It's like when you're playing a video game and you're given a task or a challenge, and the minute that you do, you're rewarded, right? You unlock a new level. That's exactly what Jupiter sextile Chiron is. Now, Jupiter is currently in Gemini, so this has a lot to do with our mental capacities, right? So if you're willing to be proactive about healing, right? And it may not be the case that this healing is really profound or anything. It could just be noticing perhaps where you're insecure about something, where you're fearful about something, and then acting differently, acting contrary to that insecurity or that fear, right? That could be the extent of it. It doesn't have to be this really profound shadow work kind of a thing. It doesn't have to be all that. But the minute that you do that, it's like you unlock a new level in your mind. And it's like you unlock an abundance mindset, which is super helpful, especially as we go into the rest of the year. Unlocking that abundance mindset is going to be key. All right. You said in my birth chart, Scorpio is in eighth house and at 29 degrees. Okay. So this is going to be your Mercury return. I'm sorry. And at 29. Oh, that you're just talking about Scorpio. So Mercury is going to hit your 29th degree Scorpio. Going through massive shift at the moment. Agree with everything you are saying. I have Jupiter and Chiron in my first house, Aries. All right, cool. So yeah, this is definitely massive shift. That's probably an understatement for you because all of that energy is very much about transformation. All right. So that is Saturday. Finally, we close out the week on Sunday. Another jam-packed day of cosmic activity. Mars is going to go into Leo. Venus is going to oppose Jupiter. It's also going to trine Chiron. Mars is going to oppose Pluto, which is super important. And we have a waxing crescent moon in Sagittarius. Let's see what this looks like on the charts. So, if you will look at the left side of the chart, you'll see Mars at 0 degrees of Leo. Directly across from that, you will see Pluto at 29 degrees of Capricorn. So before Mars moves into Leo, it's going to directly oppose Pluto. Mars will be at 29 degrees of Cancer and Pluto will be at 29 degrees of Capricorn. Then we've got Venus at the bottom of the chart, bottom right-hand portion, at 20 degrees of Sagittarius. It will oppose Jupiter at 20 degrees of Gemini. Yes, Gemini. It'll also trine Chiron at 20 degrees of Aries. And then that same day, the moon will be in Sagittarius. So that's definitely a lot going on Sunday. So, first, let us talk about Mars opposing Pluto. This is the transit I was talking about in the introduction that's going to be super important. I'm actually doing a whole dedicated video on this, so that will be coming out soon. But this is not the first time that we're going to be feeling this transit because Mars is actually going to be going retrograde in December. And with the astrological configuration, Mars and Pluto are going to oppose each other a couple of times. And Mars opposing Pluto is intense. It's intense in the best way possible, if that can really be a thing. However, it's like giving you the opportunity to not only tap into your strongest desires, but take action upon them. But the way that this happens, it happens by sort of making you feel uncomfortable. It happens by things ending. It may even happen with you having to make sudden, impulsive, perhaps actions, which a lot of people tend to not always like. Right? We settle into a routine. We like things to go a certain way. And whenever our schedules get disrupted, we feel unsettled. We feel ungrounded, right? However, think of it like an earthquake. Earthquake is not necessarily feeling good in the moment, but sometimes it's necessary to shake things up a little bit. And that's sort of the essence of Mars opposing Pluto. Okay. It can bring out competition. It can bring out aggression. It could bring out endings. It could bring out a lot of Mars-like things. Mars is the planet of war. So we're talking about confrontation. We're talking about conflict. We're talking about war, essentially. That's why this transit may not feel the best. And I'm not saying that I'm someone who's pro-war or anything like that. However, that kind of energy, it serves a specific, important, and necessary purpose in our lives. Conflict, strife, competition, it can really help narrow down what is important to you, right? When we talk about Mars, Mars has a lot to do with our desires, what we want. When we talk about desires with respect to Mars, it's very one track minded. And at a time like right now, and when I say right now, I mean right now generally in history, right? We are bombarded with distractions. If you've watched any of my other videos, I talk a good deal about sometimes the things that you want are not necessarily what you want, but what you've been conditioned to want. And it's like we're bombarded with these distractions. So we get so far away from ourselves. We get so far away from the essence of who we really are. And in the process, we also get far away from what we really want for us. And the thing about that is confrontation, strife, conflict can ultimately be a way to get you back to center, to get you back to the essence of you, to get you back to what's important for you and what you want. And so I want you to keep this in mind when you're experiencing these things during this transit, because it's ultimately getting you where you need to be, what you want, back to who you are. And again, we have to remember the energy of this season. Scorpio, Mars and Pluto are the rulers of Scorpio, and they are squaring off in Scorpio season. That says a lot. It says that if there was ever a time to make a change, it's now. And thankfully, we'll have this energy of transformation via Mars opposite Pluto for a while. This isn't something that's just going to happen on Sunday and then go away. This is something that is sort of a long-term kind of transit, which means that you have the opportunity to really make some changes right now. Okay. It's not necessarily going to feel good. It's going to require you to have a little bit of courage, a little bit of gumption, motivation, act impulsively at times. Sometimes it may require you to fly off the handle a little bit. Ain't nothing wrong with a little bit of anger, as long as it's constructively directed. You don't want to be, God forbid, hurting people physically or anything of the sort. However, a healthy expression of anger is necessary and it's important. And so you may be faced with situations that require this of you. And ultimately, that's a good thing. So I want you to remember that as we work through this transit over an extended period of time. And like I said, it may require courage. And this is very much the case as once Mars leaves Cancer, it's going to be moving into Leo. And that's what I talked about in the intro or the highlights called Say It With Your Chest. You have to be convicted about what you want. See, the thing is, we live in a society where a lot of times we are subdued, okay? Our desires, our natural state, acting in our best interests. A lot of the things that happen are meant to subdue us. Mars in Leo is sort of the opposite of submission. It's the opposite of being subdued. It's like standing out, roaring, being loud, being convicted in your desires and in your passions, and not being afraid to be different, not being afraid to stand out. While everyone else may be subdued and asleep, you are wide awake and you're loud as fuck. Have you ever been in a house with several people, right? And it's the early morning and some like the first person that wakes up, they're noisy as hell. You hear their alarm clock, they're getting up, they're slamming doors, they're opening this. Like that is Mars in Leo. And that's sort of how Mars in Leo is playing out within the general landscape of life at this time. So be convicted in what you want. And now that does invite competition. It does invite conflict, right? If you're up at 6 a.m. banging pots and pans, yeah, maybe it's gonna wake me up unexpectedly. I might want to fight you. I might want to say, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Why are you making so much noise? And that's when you say, because I have things to do, because I'm working on something, because I'm cooking something. Maybe I'm cooking for you. It requires me to be a little loud, right? Say it with your chest. Be convicted. All right? That's Mars and Leo. Then we've got Venus making two aspects. It's going to be opposite to Jupiter and trine to Chiron. Now, Venus is currently in Sagittarius, like I said before. And so Venus in Sagittarius, she says, ha, that's my sister exactly. Also Scorpio in the sixth house here. Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, some people be really loud in the morning. And it's like, I know me, I try, especially if I'm with other people, I try to like not turn the light on, be quiet. But some people really don't care. They're just like flipping the light on, doing all of the things. Like, yeah. But remember, Mars and Leo. All right. So Venus opposite Jupiter. So Venus is going to be in Sagittarius. Jupiter is going to be in Gemini. Now, oppositions, like I said before, it's about the seesaw, right? It's two planets vying for your attention. Mars and Leo. Yes, I'm a native Mars and Leo too. So I understand that energy, although it's a little foreign to me because of some of the other placements in my chart. But Mars and Leo, say it with your chest. So Venus is in Sagittarius, Jupiter is in Gemini. So whenever you have Venus and Jupiter together, they're actually very positive, even if they're in a harsh aspect like a square or an opposition in this case. So it's almost like you're at two different extremes, but both extremes are good. Jupiter in Gemini is really getting you to open your mind, right? And it's doing so in a good way. Remember, I talked about when I was talking about Jupiter sextile Chiron, unlocking, it could be prosperity consciousness, it could be abundance consciousness, right? Jupiter's doing that. And then on the other end, we've got Venus and Sagittarius, which is like you're thinking big picture and you're optimistic about Venusian kind of things. It's like this opposition is having you pick between two really good things, or at least finding the balance. But what's interesting is that Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. So there's going to be this very expansive energy, this over the top kind of energy. So if you find that you're feeling extremely optimistic, if you're learning a lot of new things, that I wouldn't be surprised if you feel that way, right? So it's Venus opposite Jupiter. You get it's two really good things, and they're both very expansive, optimistic. Okay. So if you're presented with any opportunities around this time, I wouldn't just say, okay, just take them. But remember that too much of a thing may not always, too much of a good thing is not always a good thing. So you'll want to make sure that you don't overpromise and underdeliver, or make sure that you don't, something could appear perhaps too good to be true. So you're going to want to be careful with whatever you invest in, whatever you're believing, whatever's presented to you. It might be a little too good to be true. So you might want to vet the information. You might want to take some time to do some granular research with respect to whatever it is, because you don't want to believe in something that ultimately won't serve you, or even invest in something that may flop later on. All right. But that's the only caveat to that particular transit. And then Venus is also going to trine Chiron. And this is sort of like Jupiter sextile Chiron, like I was talking about before. This allows you to really engage in healing. Okay. And with Venus being the planet of money and relationships, this transit gives you the opportunity to heal, to work past relationship issues and money issues. And typically, how that happens is you're presented with something, you're presented with a situation, and you can either do what you've done in the past, which could be a result of the trauma, the insecurities that you have, or act differently. And in acting differently, that's sort of how you overcome those insecurities or those fears. And again, that's going to have to do with Venusian kind of things. So it gives you the opportunity to level up. So it looks like, from a broad overview of the energy for the week, we're definitely transforming a lot of Venusian like things. So money, relationships. We're unlocking abundance consciousness, right? Jupiter, Venus, both in aspect to Chiron, is if you're willing to overcome your wounds, you unlock a new level that is abundant and expansive. So there's quite a bit of opportunity for personal development this week, which is really cool. And then finally, we close out the week with the waxing crescent moon in Sagittarius. And again, we're still riding that wave of Sagittarius where we're optimistic and we're motivated and we're feeling that way because we're talking about the moon, right? The moon will get us to feel good, see the bigger picture. After doing all of that work and planting at that new moon in Scorpio, now we're going to water that plant with our optimistic emotions. And that is how we end the week. So lots going on this week. It is a lot. I would suggest that you perhaps listen to this broadcast again. I'm going to be putting the timestamp. So if there's anything that you want more clarity on that you want to revisit, you can just click on the timestamp and hear my beautiful voice explaining it again, right? A lot going on, but what is going on really works into the energy of the season, which is transformation. This is the time of year. It's the most wonderful time of the year. I'm telling you, don't wait till January. January, it's not going to be effective. Scorpio season gives you everything that you need to make lasting changes. All right, my loves. So that concludes this edition of the weekly Astro Forecast. I sincerely hope that you were able to get at least one important piece of information from this broadcast. For information on everything I talked about, all my products and services, everything is either linked to the video or in the description box below. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know you could be doing anything and being anywhere right now, but the fact that you are here with me tonight means the world to me, and I sincerely appreciate you and your support. All right, my loves, I wish you nothing but the best for this week and beyond, and I will see you in my next broadcast. All right, my loves, take care.